for Muhammad. Resistance is justified.
Resistance is justified
When people are occupied.
when people are occupied.
Just as Muhammad said, we gather here week after week because we will not fall for Biden's lies. He can build as many piers as he wants or drop as many aid as he wants into Gaza. We will not believe that he is not behind this genocide. And we know that in Israel's efforts to resettle Gaza, he is turning this into a regional war. He has been bombing Lebanon, Syria, Yemen over and over and over again. And to give us a little bit more and talk about that, I want to invite up Nai. She was born and raised in Beirut, and she's going to give us a little bit more about the risk Lebanon is at.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here under the sun. I know it's hot. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Nai, as Noor said, and I grew up in Beirut, Lebanon. I'm Lebanese. I'm joining you all to stop the genocide in Palestine and to fight Israel's crimes against humanity committed in Palestine, in Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon. I'm here to talk to you about Lebanon's fight against Israeli attacks and recognize the destruction of villages, public roads, mosques and churches, health centers, agricultural land and harvest yields that will take long to recover, and most urgently, of lives of civilians, journalists, families' futures. The IDF has had plans for years to have constant operations and presence in build-up areas in South Lebanon through controlling the population. I am here to remind us that Israel is not only attacking Palestine but also Syria and Lebanon with specific goals of expansion, colonialism, exploitation, and destruction. While the world still struggles to see the Arab as human, while the Western world still looks the other way when the Levant is fighting relentlessly. Let us not forget that during the civil war from 75 to 1990 in Lebanon, there were failed attempts to build Zionist settlements in Beirut. For Israel, the entire region is theirs. The Israeli Zionist settler lobby, called the Movement for Settlement in Lebanon, has, quote, nazified the Lebanese cedar tree, end quote, as a symbol of planning to reinforce settler colonialism and hegemonic goals of settlement in Lebanon and Palestine. Israel has been targeting Palestinian leaders in Lebanon for decades, including 2024, 2006, 1988, 1979, and well before. The south of Lebanon has decades of history of bombardment, invasion, occupation, and military action, and civilians have been living under the constant threat of escalations. Since October 7th in Lebanon, the death toll of innocent civilian lives have been rising. The airstrikes, rocket fires, and displacements are increasing. Excuse me. We read on Al Jazeera that on February 14th, 2024, civilians reported not only hearing drones but also airplanes, and that the raids has lasted until 3 a.m. On that day, at least 10 civilians, including 7 members of the same family, were killed in the first attack. The second attack killed a woman and her 2 children. Amongst those reporting victims that died while attempting to shed light on the realities of these atrocities, we mourn young journalists like correspondent Farah Omar, 25 years old, 25-year-old reporter, and cameraman Rabia Mamari, killed by a direct attack, intentional attack, during their broadcast from the south, as well as Reuters journalist Aissam Abdallah, who was killed on October 13th in an attack that injured 6 of his colleagues. Following Aissam's murder, the United Nations Interim Forces in Lebanon asked for the release of the investigation of 2 Israeli strikes on a group of journalists in South Lebanon, and as a result, 16 NGOs and journalist groups joined forces to send a letter to highly ranked people in the UN, including the Secretary General. To this, I add attacks on rescue centers, killing emergency staff, And medical workers, like the medical team in Hadaisi, paramedic center in Habayri, as well as dozens of evacuated Christian, Druze, Sunni, and Shiite towns and regions. Bint Jbel, Marjayoun, Sur, Hasbaya, the villages of Aitarun, Ait al-Shab, Mais al-Jabal, Blida, Kafra, and dozens more. According to Human Rights Watch, the Tahrir Institute, relief reports, and Security Council reports, as of March 5th, and the numbers are not clear, 91,000 civilians have been displaced. 306 people were killed. 820 people wounded. Attacks on Baalbek, northeast of Beirut, killed 2 people and injured 20. Due to infrastructure damages, 100,000 residents in the South and Nabateeh governorate have difficulty accessing clean water. 50 public schools and 22 private schools had to close for security and damages issues, counting 20,000 children lacking access to their schools. All these numbers do not include the people who die from consequences of war and attacks, people with chronic illnesses, disability, pregnant women, which are all inhumanely considered collateral damage. Finally, Israel is not only attacking Palestine but also Lebanon and Syria, proof of Israel's perseverance in its mission of expansion and destruction of any ability of self-defense from others, any ability from self-defense from others. I stand here with the privilege of speaking freely, but we are not all heard. We are not all allowed to protest and fight for our rights. أينما كنتم لا تصمتوا. Wherever you are, do not stay silent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nai.